Hey everyone, Sean Smith here with Dedicated Financial GBC in Roseville, Minnesota. I'm the founder and CEO, hanging out with my good buddy Mike Mroszak. Mike, welcome to the vlog.
Thanks, guys.
Long time coming. Apparently, you've already hosted the vlog, but we never did the interview series for people to get to know your background. So we just kind of skipped one step and just said, "Hey, Mike, do the vlog," and you were up for it. So. Thank you for doing that. But Mike's our VP of Strategic Partnerships. I think we've known each other now for, approaching 7 years, 8 years, somewhere in there.
I think something
8 years. So, side benefit, we were buddies outside of this before we started working together, so that works out pretty good. But the goal of this is really just to get a little background on Mike. We have so many industry contacts, friends out there in the market, clients. Prospective people we might work with, community partners, things like that, that we just like to do these for people to get to know a little bit more in depth of the team here at Dedicated. So, Mike, if you would, just start out with giving folks your background.
Sure. So I guess I'll just start with college. Back in 2010, graduated from Metropolitan State University here in the Twin Cities. Got a business management degree. Graduated in a wonderful time where I was submitting hundreds of resumes to Dark Voids, which were online submission portals, and so had that lovely task of trying to find a job. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, found a job making a ton of phone calls. I was in a meat grinder of a job, making 150 to 250 calls a day, selling to auto and body shops across the nation, and so I just had to pay, back college tuition, and so I just needed anything to, pay for a job or, pay my bills. And so anyways, did that for, 3 months. Felt like an eternity. I had people dropping like flies. People would show up for their first day, and they'd last till lunch, and they wouldn't come back. And so I felt pretty proud to make it through that, but ultimately, I had a buddy of mine whose dad started a business selling equipment, software, and services to banks and credit unions. And so it was a legit startup in March of 2010. And then I came on September 2010, was working in the spare bedroom of my boss's house. Had a plastic card table, a folding chair.
It sounds like a startup.
A laptop and a mouse. I literally had a bed sitting behind me. It was pretty crazy. So anyways, I started out business development, moved into account management. We grew from 0 to 3 million in about 3 years. We added 3 more people. Eventually we merged with our sister company. That was about 6 million. So then we were about 9. And then by the time I was finished, it was about 15 million. So over the course of that time, I worked my way through the ranks of like all the different sales roles. So it was business development and account management, and got into sales operations and sales management, just like trying to help bring up like the young guys on our team. Young, like some of them were older than me, but
young, I'm pretty sure you're still considered a young guy, but
yeah,
just
the green guys on the team. We'll say
you're still in the 40 under 40
category
exactly. There,
but yeah. So, anyways, it was. To me, it felt like bringing up like the green guys in the business, right? Because there's just like a lot of intricacies. We sold a lot of different types of equipment, and so anyways, it was fun. I learned a lot. I owe a lot of my expertise and just like experience, obviously, to that company, and appreciate all those people that I spent time with along the way, and feel like I brought value to them. And so, yeah.
Speaking of bringing value, though, so that I would transition it then is like, what brought you to Dedicated? Because we talked about Dedicated, I would say, for at least a couple of years, where you were at, and before you came on board at Dedicated. And there'll be anecdotal stories to tell as far as once you did come over. But what brought you over to Dedicated? What was it that interested in you coming over here?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, first time we met, it was shooting pool. Do you remember that? We were up it was like in New Brighton.
See, I thought it was the first time we played that thing where you go inside the ball.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
We run around and you run into each other. We did that in the school field.
Yeah, well, I think that was like Murphy's like bachelor party or something like that. But no. It was, you wanted to shoot pool. And so I was like, all right, one of the guys from the men's group wants to shoot some pool. So we went over and like you didn't waste any time. It was like 2 seconds in, you were like, yeah, I wanted to talk to you about dedicated. It's like,
you be direct.
I was like, all right.
I'm not known for being blunt or direct.
No, not at all.
It's not in my nature.
But it was funny. But I mean, at that point, it was just early on for me, so I wasn't ready to make a move. There was like things I felt like I hadn't accomplished in my last role, and I didn't really feel like being paid in pesos and shoestrings at the time. So
fair enough.
But anyways, but
I had more than a card table.
You did. But I mean, eventually, I honestly had completely forgotten about it, and so you brought it up a second time. So it was like January of 2020. We went and saw Ford versus Ferrari, and so we were hanging out a little bit after that, and had a long conversation. We showed up to this office building at like midnight.
That's right.
And checked out the place. So I would just say, like, I don't know, like for me, I was personally ready for a change, but like, I had seen you make some different choices over time, and I respected how you handled yourself, how you grew your business. I liked the mission of the company. Like, I had thought about like if there was ways of doing that in previous employment, and that just wasn't, an option there as much. And like, I don't know. I just felt like maybe the industry wasn't something very attractive to me, but just the style of how the business was run was something that I think I could get behind. So
I think we can all agree that nobody grows up wanting to be a debt collector or working at an agency that does debt collection. And even though we've grown outside of that, it's still part of what we do. And, I chuckle about that not only from you, but Maddie, who's standing behind the camera, thinking all the same thing. But, it comes down to if we can be as mission driven as we are, and we're attracting people from outside of our industry because they want to be a part of that, what can a company do that quite frankly isn't doing some of the services that we do, that people are actually excited to work at from the outside, not having to come learn the inside before they get excited about it, right? And so I think that's an interesting separation there. But since you've been at Dedicated, what has stuck out the most? Because now you have some time on your belt. Ironically, you've got a couple of years on your belt now, coming up on it, right? On the 2-year anniversary. So, right about the time the world shut down is your 2-year anniversary. Always remember that one. Yeah. Was it 3 days beforehand?
Yeah. So I took the job in January, we started talking in January. I took the job in February. And then I started March 16th. And then here in Minnesota, the shutdown was that Friday. So I started on a Monday and went home with my computer under my arm on Friday.
Yeah, that was interesting timing. But what stuck out to you? So now that you've got coming up on a couple of years under your belt, what has been the things that have stuck out about Dedicated that maybe you haven't seen in out there in the world, both in your previous employment, but also just with friends or other stuff you see that would really separate us or be distinct?
Sure. I like the positive culture here. So like people here generally have a positive attitude, and you can only fake it for so long. So like people genuinely enjoy being here and carry a positive attitude. And as an extrovert, that's helpful because, run around, like, I like chatting with people, and I like people who like me, right? So, like, to have a grouchy person in the office is always kind of a downer. So, but we don't have that here, and there's not office drama. I mean, there's always stuff, like, people have stuff going on, and that's okay, but, like, there's just not that office drama, so to speak, and that pervades into our leadership team too, right? Like there's not any kind of strife in the leadership structure, which is helpful.
And it takes a lot of effort, by the way.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, Dedicated hasn't been cheap about stuff, so you guys are generous about getting snacks for the crew, and that's kind of simple stuff, but like getting people quality equipment for them to do their job. And like I think the big thing for me is like hiring quality people. Like you can hire people and like cheap, inexpensive labor, right, relatively speaking, but you end up paying for it out, in other ways, right? So you pay for it by having to teach them everything from the ground up. You have to give them a bunch of your time, and that's not what we're here to do. If you're trying to grow a small business, you need to hire quality, confident people who can do their job, and so that you don't have to do it for them. And so I've seen, I don't know, a bunch of great leaders come on board, and I appreciate that aspect about dedicated.
Yeah, I agree. You get what you pay for, you know, and it's just something where I see that paying dividends in the growth of the company and the sophistication level, the success rate, all of that completely attributes to the people I've surrounded myself with. Yeah, that's a great point. So I have two fun questions to end with. One that we have written down, one that we don't. Start with the one that we have written down, which is, what would be one thing that people may not know about you?
I mean, an easy one is I was born on an Aleutian island in the middle of the Bering Sea called Adak, Alaska. So my dad was a Seabee in the Navy, 25 years in. And just happened to be when I came around, he was stationed in Adak. It was a naval communications base that's now been demilitarized. So there's like, instead of 1,000 people there, there's like less than a couple hundred. But I was the only kid born there on that day.
That's cool. And the question that I did have written down is, was it in the Aleutian Islands or was it in your childhood in Hawaii? When did you start growing the epic beard? And what is the forecast for it for this year coming?
That's funny. I came out this way. I don't know.
Just looking like a Spartan warrior.
Exactly, basically. No, it was kind of like a slow roll, because like the last company I worked for, technically speaking, there was like a no facial hair policy, but the owners kind of had some facial hair, and then at some point I was less like customer facing, so I kind of got away with just growing it how I wanted to. So, and I've been there long enough, so they didn't bother me about that. And so I started growing it like out, longer than what you have there in 2018. As far as the forecast goes, I don't know. Are
we gonna get that 6 inches back? Because this is like supposed to be the summer cut, but then you kept it this winter. I noticed you didn't grow it back out.
Yeah, it's my own personal bonsai tree. I just kind of cut it and trim it as I may. So
well, it's just funny how it's become such a thing. Like, I feel like when I go to conferences, people talk to me more about our social media and branding and marketing and things like that often than they do about our services. Now, granted, we've got really good market penetration in a lot of the conferences we go to, but I find that to be the same thing with you, is that people talk about how much they love your beard and think you're the greatest guy, but it's always attached to beard. It's like, Mike's a great guy, and I love his beard. Like, it's always attached. It's always an add-on to every sentence. So it's just become a thing. You know what I mean? Like, it just...
Apparently my beard precedes me.
I wouldn't bet it does. Like, seriously. So, well, again, thank you for, the last couple of years and just everything you've done. I mean, our sales development, our customer retention processes, our relationship management, all of that is growing with a lot of your influence and hard work. So it's beyond appreciated. And, ultimately that drives the mission more, right? It's driving the mission at Create Minneapolis, which... check out Create Minneapolis. Mike's on the board of that, and we've done other videos actually interviewing
Rob and Mel.
Rob and sorry, what was it?
Mel.
Mel, right? Things like that in everything you're doing, and even every day you're working, you're feeding 10 kids. Right. And hopefully we'll get down to Haiti. Mike was supposed to be on the trip down to Haiti, and Haiti's been a little challenging lately, but hopefully this August, we'll see. We're working on it.
Working on it.
But as always, thank you also for tuning in. For all of you out there who are just massive advocates for Mike and I, and dedicated, people who are referring business to us, making connections, and really just helping move our mission forward of using business as a platform to change the world for the better. We truly appreciate it. We appreciate you liking, subscribing, commenting. Follow Mike on LinkedIn. Follow the beard, if you will. And as always, thank you for tuning in, and God bless.
Thanks, everybody.